All right, welcome into Shared Screen Special Edition House of the Dragon podcast. We got a brand new one here for you, ready to go. Episode 5, The Princess and the Queen. We got Chance. It's per Chance. We got Vasker on fire, and the Three-Eyed Raven told me we might be getting another guest here later on. But yeah. No book spoilers. We're just talking about show only stuff. But yeah, what were y'all's initial thoughts on this episode? Vegas, I want you to go first.
Correction. This is episode 6. You said 5.
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't edit the document. Episode 6. I was testing you guys. You passed. Well done.
Great episode. We got our big time jump. So we got to see a lot of new stuff happening. A lot of stuff happened in between. And now we're doing catch up.
Yeah. Chance, what were your thoughts on episode 6?
It was interesting. I thought the way that their lives had taken a turn was definitely, there were some choices that were made, and they kind of needed to catch us up on like why those choices were made. But yeah, it's probably my least favorite episode of the season thus far, but we can get into it later on.
Okay. I thought it was fantastic. And we'll get into like the new cast here in a second, but I thought I feel like this had the most challenges just in terms of making this massive jump in the middle of the season, right? Like literally, if you guys watched the developer diary or whatever, they were like, this is like essentially another pilot, right? So they essentially had to catch up everybody on what was the current state of like every character, the realm, all that stuff. So but I think largely they succeeded. There's definitely a few times where I was just wondering like, hey, who's that? Or, what is their relation to who? Like, but I think overall it was pretty great. I think the story was awesome, and excited to see where it continues. And yeah, I mean, just the build up, you can feel it in this episode, the tension. So I thought overall it was a pretty good episode. But speaking of which, with that time jump, we got the new cast. What did y'all think about all of the new actors, specifically, obviously, Rhaenyra and Alicent, but just, I mean, all the new actors in the same roles and just a couple of the kids. Chance, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm really liking the way that the kid actors, right, for these new kids that have entered the sphere, if you will, or whatever, Rhaenyra's and Alicent's. Aegon, I think, is an interesting character. I'm excited to see what's happening more with him, because at first you're like, don't like this kid. Then you see him kind of like twiddling around with the sword, and I'm like, but he's got potential. I see some potential here. I am still undecided on whether or not I like Alicent and Rhaenyra's new actors and like how they're doing. Just because I don't know if that's so much to do with like me reconciling with how much time has passed with these actors, or if I'm just being like too hyper focused on like that. But yeah, I did enjoy what happened in this episode. I just feel like it kind of, because they had so much to explain, it kind of drug its feet a little bit. But I digest. Vegas, take it away.
With the new actors, I agree. I love this whole new dynamic with all the kids. Even Damon's got a couple daughters. There's kids everywhere. And all the new actors that are playing the ones that were younger. It's very interesting though. I can agree that it's hard to get a grasp on, because not only are they different actresses and actors doing the same job that someone else did, but they're also completely different people in the show. So it's hard to kind of get a grasp on like new Rhaenyra, who's like got 3 kids, and she's like, she said she wasn't going to have kids, and now here she is. And, new Alicent, who's like, was kind of meek and sweet, and now she's like this like hardcore chick who's trying to get her way. I don't know, just very, very interesting dynamic with the way that they've changed, and also the new actors that play them.
Yeah, I think it's interesting or important to remind people that I don't know how they shot the show, but the older actors were cast first, and so uh, I think that bears some remembering. But um, I think overall with the new cast, especially the actors in the same roles, I think they did great. I think in terms of explaining it, like I felt like the dynamic between the new actor or the new actors, I thought that was great. Um, there is like some I don't know how to put it, uh, like incongruence between the young and the old. Um, but you can just say, I guess that's because of the time jump, right? Like with Allison, right? Like she makes that big step last episode, wearing her house colors to the royal wedding, where before she was wearing like the Targaryen red and black and stuff like that. And so you can like kind of like, oh yeah, she made that choice here, and then boom, goes all the way here 10 years later. So yeah, it's like you're missing the minute steps, but you do see some of that through line. Um, but I'm excited to see more of them. I thought they did fantastic overall. I thought, yeah, all the kids did great. Yeah, especially Ty Tennant as Aegon. He definitely
What a kid.
he definitely shows some promise in terms of his acting and just the role of that character. But yeah, let's
I
get
think one
into.
thing that might be important to mention too is we don't see a lot of this very quickly. Like maybe I can't think of any examples, but I think time jumps might be a little easier to handle of this scale if it was maybe a new season or if the first section wasn't so long.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. The new section being so long, or the first section being so long, I think is really what's jarring me, is because we had so much time with these set of
yeah,
actors, and like we know them, and now we have to learn them all again.
exactly.
Mhm.
And it's like it's not like we got to wait 3 months to let like the old show settle and then the new show like, oh, this is all brand new. We had 1 week and we're like, okay, let me just figure this out.
Yeah,
I think that's why it maybe feels a little bit awkward.
I think, and obviously, like we can't, view it now or just take stock, but when the show's over, right, and it's 95%, or not 95,
Yeah.
but like
Then we're
80,
like past
80,
this.
80% of these actors, right? Because even though it is like a multiple decade long story, yeah, these are the older actors for the foreseeable future of
Hmm.
these characters. So I wonder, like
We'll
in
get
like
over it.
Yeah, yeah,
just like yeah, because like I said, they cast older actors first. I don't know if they shot the older episodes and they're like, wait, we need to go back. I don't know, but they decided to tell this 5 episode story of the younger characters for hopefully for a reason. We'll find out if that bears any fruit or not. Um, but yeah, right. Like at this particular moment, yeah, it is going to be a big
A little
change, right?
jarring.
Yeah. But we'll just have to see. But yeah, let's get into the plot. We'll just jump around, and then obviously, if we wherever the conversation takes us, we can follow it. But yeah, 10 years later, after episode 5, we see
Woo,
Rhaenyra giving birth.
popping one
Um,
out.
Popping one out, and then again immediately Allison like wants to see the kid, wants to check on it and make sure it's
Power
legit.
move.
So it immediately establishes this icy relationship between Rhaenyra and Allison. So Vegas, how do you think this relationship is portrayed, and is going to affect this season, especially continuing from where they were at 10 years ago, where they were still kind of friends.
I mean, part of it is Allison has known way back since the Sir Kristen times that Rhaenyra is a hoe. And I'm just kidding. She knew what's been going on, and then she started popping out babies and still knew it was going on. I feel like Rhaenyra kind of set her up for that change in Allison. So, she was probably, just getting more and more pissed off when she kept realizing that she wasn't taking her, her life seriously because she was obviously sleeping with that other guy. What was his name?
The new one,
Yeah.
Arwen.
Yeah.
Arwen
Arwen.
Strong. Yeah.
I remember his brother's name is hilarious, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
I think the relationship is what Rhaenyra set it up to be. She's not taking her life seriously, and Allison's pissed off.
Yeah. Chance, what do you think about this new dynamic between Allison and Rhaenyra?
This one makes a lot of sense. I feel like Vegas really hit the nail on the head with it. Just because you do see kind of later on in the episode the consequence of Rhaenyra's decisions, where she's not really grown up like Allison has, and so as Allison is taking this more and more seriously, seeing her continue to not, I'm sure that's really the driving force of this. And also, I do think that she's really fighting for her kids' lives. I think that she took that very seriously when Otto told her that it's your kids or her kids, and do you want your kids to die? Just I think she took that way more serious than we had discussed, and I think this is the fruit of that one conversation of her just not ceasing making sure these kids have the best possible future, which is I mean, kudos to her, flowers to her. She's being a good mom, right? Throughout her being shitty to Rhaenyra, but yeah.
And she's making good points. She's like, yeah. My kids got the hair, hers don't.
Yeah, literally, this is jumping ahead a bit, but I won't get too much into the scene, but literally when she's talking to Aegon, she is, I think, quoting her dad verbatim about how it's either, her, it's you're and your siblings, or it's your cousins, right? That's how it's going to be.
All right. How's it going, Nick?
Hello, friends. I'm sorry I'm late. I had a volleyball match, and I will never have a volleyball match on a Sunday ever again. So,
all right, ready to get into it?
Yeah. Did you win?
We got worked. We got smoked. We are not. No. We right now are fat 0-3. So, yep. Nice. We just have a good time. It's sand intramural volleyball. So it's a good time. But,
what's your team name? What's your team name?
So we're quick service, but originally we were just Ben Stiller, and then we got outvoted. Or the question, we did get outvoted. The person who had the power just changed it. So I miss Ben Stiller though.
I'm not even kidding you. And every time we would go to vacation, this one place, there was a basketball tournament. And when I was in high school, we would name our team Bill Murray, or just some random actor. That's funny that you do that too.
All right. Where are you guys in the episode?
We just started. We just finished talking about the relationship between Allison and Rhaenyra.
In the intro,
now Brett's about to talk. Bring up the next point.
All right.
Chance, should I ask Nick quick rapid fire of what we already talked about, or should we just move on? What do you think?
We can just move on.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Just introduce Nick, and we should be good to go.
All right. By the Red Woman, our fourth guest. Oh my gosh, Nick, Nevin's Island, what's up?
Not much. I'm a little sandy, I'm a little sweaty, but here I am. I'm happy to be here as always, and thanks for having me.
Just washed up on King's Landing. Just washed up.
Yep.
Rode rode all the way like Gendry.
Yeah.
But real quick, just give us your initial impressions of the episode.
Episode's awesome. This show's really good. I really enjoyed the two new actresses. They did great. And I'm just hopping in. We'll get into bit by bit, but no, I really, really enjoyed this episode. I'm not right now. A lot of screaming at the television due to sporting events. I'm not bringing the heat that I normally am, but so you'll probably hear a little bit less of me. But it was a great episode, and I really, really, really enjoyed it. So let's continue.
All right. So yeah, next up, I wrote down. We see, the offspring of Rhaenyra and the offspring of Alicent in the dragon pit, and I think we actually get to see inside of it this time. I think in episode 1 we saw like some cage or some part of it. We actually get to see like the full like almost like amphitheater, like stage,
yeah,
field, whatever. Yeah. And it looks very magnificent. I know, like in in Game of Thrones, they talk about how that's like all it was the end, like the beginning of the end of the Targaryen dynasty. It represented everything that doomed them. But I mean, in this shot, it looked kind of cool. Like I was like, okay, like they might have like some they might sell tickets, and they'll have the Dragon Zoo shows, stuff like that. It looked like awesome. But we do get to see one thing that I wanted to see in this show, and we finally got it, was some dragon like stuff, some dragon lore. We actually, I think this is or you see it in Thrones, but like we see Jace Targaryen, or actually Jace Valerian, but Rhaenyra's son, attempting to bond with a young dragon. I don't know the name of the dragon. I wasn't able to catch it.
Vorsax or something.
Pretty sure that the arrangement was that they're Targaryens.
No, they were
like the arrangement in that was made in the last episode was they're going to be born Valerians, and then if whoever assumes the throne,
succession. Okay.
Whoever sits on the throne will be
then they become a Targaryen. So they're all Valerians technically right now, but I mean they have Rhaenyra says the blood of the Targaryen. But what did we think about seeing the inside of Dragon Pit? What did we think about getting some live action dragon bonding in the age of the Targaryen? Nick, I'll start with you.
Yeah, this was awesome. This was a awesome little insight into something we don't get a lot of, and they promised dragons, and gosh darn it, we got it, and it feels good to get it. The entire bit behind this, and you getting to really start to be introduced to these 4 young actors as they're starting to bond. You get to see some of their levels amongst themselves. Is extremely interesting. It sort of sets the stage for what this episode is between the new young actors, the 4 boys that were hanging out, and it was extremely enjoyable. And the dragons are fucking awesome as always, and give me as much of that, as much dragon content as possible, because I'm always amazed with how good they look. And for when it came to the bonding aspect, it was cool. It's interesting to see, and anytime anyone says Dracarys on screen will always be badass. So, and it very much was. But yeah.
Yeah. Vegas, what did you think, and how many times would you have to yell Dracarys before the dragon would actually breathe fire?
All dragons would listen to me immediately. Obviously. But I loved watching the little interactions between the kids. There's a couple little dickheads, and one kid that's he's got a real anger problem, I think.
How like realistic is it that they're making fun of the one kid without the dragon though? Like that is so like right nail on the head.
You don't have a dragon. Yeah. I guess in a place like this, that's your downfall. You don't have a dragon, you're the loser.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big part about Viserys, right? He doesn't have a dragon anymore, but he's the king. Sorry.
So did he have one at one point?
Yeah, he rode Balerion, the biggest dragon ever, Aegon the Conqueror's dragon. He was the last rider for Balerion.
I got you.
But he only got to rode him for like a few years, and then Balerion passed, and
that's a skull in the basement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah,
I got you.
Yep.
Yeah, it was pretty cool watching their little training process, and they're just trying to teach the kids how to train their dragon, how to train your dragon.
Chance, what do you think about this scene, man?
All I was wondering is like, do they limit how much these kids can be in this dragon pit? Because if I was one of these kids, I'd never leave. Like this would become my whole personality. I am spending all my time with this little son of a bitch. Like that was my main takeaway. Besides, I thought it was like funny, but also cruel, but also really funny. The pig, the pink whatever scourge or whatever they called the
King Dread. Yeah.
the pig, not the bunny. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Vegas already talked about a lot of the points that I thought were super salient about it, so I had to bring a little bit of comedy to it. How often can you go in the dragon pit?
I wonder if that's just part of like kind of like how I said the dragon pit was the beginning of the end for them in a lot of ways, and we have these like dragon trainers that are, I'm assuming, are from Essos because they only speak Valyrian, like old Valyrian or Valyrian or whatever, because that one person had
You
to
mean a
like translate.
translator?
Yeah. So, it seems like at least the kids don't have direct access to the dragons, and obviously, they're terrifying creatures. So, you probably wouldn't want them to have that. But still, there's.
I mean, Dany rolled around with hers, and look how like dope she was with them, and like she got hers way later. I don't know, separating the kids from the dragons. That's what caused the whole thing. I keep dropping shit. Hold on.
It's all good.
Oh yeah, because it's not like because she basically was there for their birth and their
Yeah.
entire raising, and it seems like these kids just kind of come down and
But then you
They don't.
see, but you like with that, you see the dichotomy of Drogon, who got to remain free. I mean, not to her choice all the time, and then the other two. So, like, I mean, I feel like that's just an isolated case that kind of showcases both ends here, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, very interesting, super cool. But yeah, maybe you needed more security, especially in some of the catacombs. Yeah, that I don't know what dragon that was, but the one that Aemon.
The security are the dragons.
Yeah.
The one that
You're a kid and you go down there.
is it
That's what it
Aemon or
is.
Aemond? The one
I
without a
can't
dragon.
I can't.
I think it's Aemond.
D.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, like I don't know what dragon he encountered, but that was like definitely like a cave-like formation, not like a cell or like a pen or something like that. So again, I don't know if in the book or in some other source material,
Could be
like,
chained though. They
yeah,
might
I
not
think,
be locked in,
I-
but they could be chained down.
I looked at it like it was in a naturally formed cave, but they did have like the wall that the dragon couldn't get past, but you could like freely walk through. That's how like
Yeah.
he got in. So I just took it as like they had walled up some big old corridors. We can move on. That's
yeah. So next up, we get a scene between Alicent and Viserys, where Alicent's like, "Yo, Rhaenyra's kids are acting a fool, even though it was Aegon. We gotta control them. Also, they might not even be Laenor's. Like, what's up with that?" But one of the big points I wanted to talk about here was not only that scene, but like this whole like push and pull between Viserys and Rhaenyra, and then Viserys and Alicent. Like Alicent and Rhaenyra are both trying to like tug and curry favor with Viserys to gain his favor. What did we think about the scene here? But I mean, just that general concept in terms of trying to gain the good side of the king. Chance, I'll start with you.
I think the king is like really feeling Alicent's like weight of what she wants to happen, and like so when Rhaenyra like comes with the proposal, I know that's like later in the episode. I think that's like really his way of like, oh, best of both worlds. We can like shut the fuck up about it now. We can go forward. Like we both are happy. Both lines are safe, and Alicent's just not having it because like that isn't assured, right? Like the safety of her kids. Not only that, but she feels like Aegon is the rightful heir to the throne. I think that he's really heavily still rooting for his daughter, but he knows once he's gone, it doesn't matter because Alicent's really going to do what she needs to do to ensure the survival and the crowning of Aegon.
Yeah. Nick, any thoughts on that? I mean, how do you feel about this balance?
Yeah, there's sides being drawn, and just the elephant in the room. I was like, you couldn't have tried to like. I know things are hard, and you and Leno, but like, couldn't have tried to get like one person that like. You couldn't try to find a dude that looks like Laenor. That like, you have to find like this most like standard black hair, like dude. Oh, dude, I was like, you just got to be better than that. Because when you have your fourth kid, like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah, that's
you're
what
just crank.
I made a joke
Like, are
about
you
that
kidding me?
to Vegas earlier. Like, you couldn't do it just once. Like, you couldn't
Like,
just
what?
get the first one out the way
Well,
and then like gotten ham.
that's one of the things about the time jump. And I haven't read Fire and Blood, but we don't know what their relationship was like over these last 10 years. At this point, we know there's like, hey, like we're cool with each other, like, hey, I don't know what that guy's name was, but hey, like, he can come along for the ride. And obviously, Laenor is cool with whatever she was doing. And
But
yeah,
I mean,
so,
like Rhaenyra's out here doing everything, all the work in the relationship. It feels like not only is she like the one that has to birth these kids, but she's having to deal with all the politics where he's able to just get drunk and sleep around and do his whole things. Where she's like, hey, "You need to understand, we got a family situation," and he's like, "Oh, peace out." Like, no, dude. Like,
but
do something.
I would argue, and we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, of like the expectations for Rhaenyra now are way different than they were 10 years ago.
She
Like,
put all this on herself.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
she
not,
put
it
all-
wasn't, I feel like they're almost equal. Like, she's like, you do what you want to do, I'll do what I want to do. She
Yeah.
had 3 kids with random guy.
Yeah.
Hey,
Like
Yeah.
they did
random handsome guy. Okay, give him
Random
his freaking credit.
sexy man.
Good looking dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would argue that it's like 90% Rhaenyra's fault. Because I mean,
absolutely. I think so,
Laenor,
too.
Yeah, but you can't
Again, we don't-
you can't talk the dude into like siring a kid, right? Like if he's just not having
Well,
it, like
But
Yeah.
she could have at least had sex with her husband a couple times.
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm saying like, what if he
it-
didn't want that? Because like how anyway,
Well, like-
I'm saying
like-
you could time some things, okay? Like you just get him in there at the end, okay?
like
Fourth
God
quarter
damn.
Peyton Man, put him in there. Let him go for it once, and then let the gods decide after that.
kind of like with Renly and Marjorie in what, season 2, 3. But yeah, again, this is part of the, like we were talking about the time jump. Like we don't know like their relationship step by step. I mean, obviously, if we read Fire and Blood, we probably would get a little bit more. But for all we know, based on of what we're being told in the show, it seems like Rhaenyra didn't make an effort to, fulfill the obligations of her position and her duties. Like they had talked about on the beach last episode. Like, hey, we can do whatever, but we still have to like do this. We still have to fulfill the duties here and have some offspring. But and with Laenor too, he maybe not have made enough of an effort, or he didn't want to. We don't know, but that is going to be something. Obviously, maybe we'll get more information going forward on the specifics of that. But obviously, at this given point, 3 kids, all from Arwen Strong, not Laenor. Yeah, so
I didn't think they'd be as heavy-handed with it either. Like when we get into the fight scene or whatever. Sorry, I'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next up, and we kind of already talked about, so we don't have to go too long. Is just rumors are bound. So Alicent's talking to Viserys about it, and Viserys kind of knows, but he doesn't really want to see the truth. And that's a through line throughout the episode of Viserys kind of turning a blind eye to the realities of the situation. And then the next up after they have their little chit chat, Alicent kind of has a little conversation with Sir Criston Cole, and Sir Criston Cole is one jaded MFer, and he is just all in on Alicent's camp.
He's Alicent's ride or die now.
Scorn, bro. He has been hurt like nobody has ever hurt before.
It's been 10 years, bro, and he's still like thinking about it, dude. Like that Targaryen.
He still loves her
Oh
for
my
sure.
gosh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
He wanted to run away with her, and she's like, nah, be my side piece.
And the side piece had 3 kids, though. Like, can we talk about that? Where he totally could have been.
He didn't want that life.
No, he did 100%.
Where some other
Yeah.
dude is claiming his kids.
But still,
I mean-
he wasn't gonna have kids anyways. Like he was gonna basically the only thing that he lost out was his honor, which we know is important to him. But like he could have. Oh,
Well, that's a great point. So I feel like this was a great through line of the 10-year gap that totally made sense. At the end of the last episode, he's about to, off himself. Alicent catches him and stops him. And then we know, a big part of the Kristen Cole character is he, came from nothing. He built up to this high position of honor. He threw it away for a chance at love. And this is his, Alicent throughout this whole episode is talking about, doing things the right way, doing things with deference, all that stuff.
He said she basically said at some point, like, there's redemption with time, as if you've redeemed yourself in a way through, even though you just said something mean about Rhaenyra.
Well, just like his service to the crown. Like, I think that's what she was getting at, is like how he had redeemed himself. What were you saying, Brett? Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, so that totally aligns with the Kristen Cole character, where he was like, I threw away my honor, my white cloak is soiled, and in his mind, he feels like this is the best like way to regain that, right? Like, he obviously can't undo what he did, but he can make amends, and again, in his mind,
everything Rhaenyra's doing is shitty, and he didn't want that for himself either.
Right. Well, yeah, which I would argue most of what Rhaenyra's doing is shitty, but I mean, so is Alicent too, in a way. Again, that's what makes the show so great, is like everyone...
I mean, to me, Rhaenyra's relationship kind of, whatever, like, she's appeasing the realm and her father by marrying this guy, but then they're also both doing what they want. Sure, sounds great. But, like, in terms of what she's supposed to be doing and how she's affecting other people in this time where just, like, all that shit's not acceptable, she's being shitty.
Yeah. Next up, I wrote window wank. We see Aegon, like, just jacking it, standing out the window, bro. I was like, what is this? It's like
his kink, bro. He wants to jizz on the world.
Anyone else get like boys people, like little Homelander moment of just and I was like, they're both blonde.
All that without the ego, though.
Yeah, well, there's some ego. It looks like this kid has.
I would agree with it. I do think he's carrying some ego around.
A little bit, but he doesn't seem to care about the status.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to be king like immediately.
Or he doesn't have the ambition to be. Because
there's no ambition.
He's been told his whole life, hey, you ain't the one, bro.
Yeah,
you might be. We don't know yet. And again, with the conversation with his mom, Alicent, is like, no, like, you are the heir. Like, you got to act like it. You got to prepare for it. Which Rhaenyra doesn't seem to be doing that for Jace. But again, that's going to probably play out later on. Yeah, that must be like a seaside window or something like that, unless he really is just. But again, it's a big castle.
Dude, he's looking right down on the peasants, like that's yard view. Like, that's not sea view. That's yard view.
Bro, I need to eat food in a bit. I don't want to think about like just like walking down my street. There's a lot of apartment buildings.
Bro, he's not making it past the castle wall. He's fine. You're fine.
They're like, oh, bird pooped on me.
Oh yeah.
Or it might be Euron's ancestor. Remember in season 8, he's sneaking through the caves underneath things, like, some Greyjoys under there, like, getting some bird shit, hitting his face. We don't know. Then we cut to our boy Daddy Daemon and his new wife Lena Valerian, and they're kind of on like a long-term vacation over in Pentos, and again, it was awesome to see him again. And he is like, he's kind of done with Westeros. He's like, I don't want to deal with all that political crap. I was never in line anyways. But one of the biggest scenes I liked was when they were on the rooftop at night, and Lena's kind of like, hey, the man I married was more than this. Like, I felt like that conversation kind of gave him purpose. Hopefully we'll see that bear fruit in the rest of the season. But what did we think about Daemon's choice to kind of remove himself from the situation and then, almost get that inspiration from Lena at the end? Nick, I'll start with you.
Smart choice. Got a killer dad bod right now. I don't know if anyone knows there's a little gut to him now. And I was like, I appreciate that. No, he's looking good. He's got a couple kids now, both daughters. And a part of me was just like, okay, that means that this is the son. And as this episode ends, we know that isn't the case. And I like all of this sort of family politics on this side of the writing is so good. Whereas, yeah, there's going to be turmoil. It's family. That's how it goes. But to go and have a wife call you out so hard, so honestly, like ferociously, like she's pregnant. She should be chilling. She's like towards the end of her pregnancy too. Like she should be feet up chilling, but she's here trying to talk him into stirring up and believing in almost himself. Like it's not even a like believe in your name. It's like believe in yourself, like what you've done. And no, I enjoyed all those scenes. This was where the episode for me turned to very comfortable because I'm like, all this is badass, it's awesome, but it's not as crazy or rambunctious as some of the first 5 episodes have been. And I also enjoy that. It reminds me of the best Thrones that we get, of just those conversations that help build out the world a little bit, build character development, because the payoff is going to be very sweet in these next episodes because of conversations like this. And yeah, we're just setting some things up. And of course, there was a great punch at the end of this episode with these characters. So, but there's even more setup that will play out soon. And I'm very thankful about that.
Yeah. Vegas, what do you think about Damon at this time in his life? Are you
I feel like I almost predicted this. Like Damon's been a little flip-floppy, doesn't really care. Has this like who gives a shit attitude, and it was almost shown in this whole episode. Like he just gave up. He's like, I mean, that life ain't for me. I don't know what he's gonna choose after this because of all the events that transpired, but I feel like early on I knew that he kind of wasn't in it as much as he seemed to be in it. There was a few moments like when he did the battle, where he seemed like he cared, but then like he always backtracks and flip flops. He just doesn't seem like, I don't know, super reliable in his ambitions.
Yeah. I felt like, yeah, I think Nikki put it like very excellently in terms of like very comfortable. Like obviously he's at a loss of purpose right now. I thought it was like kind of funny that he was entertaining this like alliance with the current, person in charge of Pentos. I don't know the political history of Pentos. I don't know if this guy is like from the same family from, when, because the dude was quoting Aegon or like what, the stuff Aegon did for Pentos, and it seemed like one drive-by dragon burning and then that was it or something like that. I don't know. Like
Drive-by.
Yeah, because he was like, yeah, he helped burn a bunch of ships and that turned the tide of the battle. So I don't know the relationship with that is with that, that leader and the leader, 200 years ago. But I just thought it was interesting that he was entertaining this idea of an alliance. But on some level, he was very at peace. He seemed more pleasant than he did in previous episodes. Not murdering anybody. Not disobeying anybody. He was kind to his wife. He was kind to his daughters. Like, he seemed a little more chill, which I appreciate. But then, yeah, I loved at the end there. Obviously, we'll talk about what happens to Lane at the end. But I love that, like, hey, like, you have a purpose. Like, go fulfill it. Because this character is super awesome. He's a very interesting character. And I can't wait to see what we're going to get next. But Chance, any quick thoughts on Damon at this time?
I think you guys all know that pretty well.
Okay. Gotcha. Now we're getting to the training ground scene. This is a very pivotal scene because we see the Valerian kids, Rhaenyra's kids, and we see Alicent's kids. And they're training, they're whacking on some straw dummies. And then things kind of go awry. Ironically, I wrote this down, like it was so just so on the nose in terms of Harwin, being the surrogate for Rhaenyra when he's training Rhaenyra's kids, and then Kristen Cole, who's allied with Alicent now, is training Alicent's kids.
I didn't think he was supposed to be training them. I thought he just butted in.
Yeah, he was just watching, but like definitely there were surrogates when the conversation started, and
Yeah.
like yeah,
Kristen was supposed to be training all four.
yes,
Yeah, I can't remember how the scene started, but
Oh, sorry,
it looked
sorry.
like Harwin was already there, and then he's just giving like verbal instruction to some of Rhaenyra's kids, and then
It was his obvious like, "I'm your dad. Let me help you." On the sidelines,
he grabs one
role.
of them by the breastplate and is like giving him a pep talk.
I've seen like I was about to say I played hockey for a good bit. My dad played college hockey, so he'd be on the sidelines. There's moments of just like actually grabbing and be like, "This is what you got to do," and then get your ass back out there and try hard. And there was an adorable level to it where I'm like, "Aw," because all the fathers normally suck in Game of Thrones, and like this is a kind of a cute moment, but also a like, yeah, you should not be doing this, bro moment. But it was cute, and I really, for what this scene turned into, I enjoyed the scene very very much. And to go in the stoke the fires the way the Sir Kristen Cole did, I'm like, dude, you're supposed to be like an honor bound man. I know you're pissed off, but this guy's also in a shit situation. You could have been in that situation, and I don't know. For me, I was like, this was really nice. And so Kristen Cole, I didn't expect the like teasing level that he got to, where the fight ends up breaking out between the two of them. But I adore scenes like this in Thrones, because you got all these interesting characters. You have Viserys watching over them. Like you have there's Strong like also watching his son be like, oh, I don't say a word. But like, oh, it's so good. I enjoy this scene very very much. Vegas, what did you think about it?
All the dads were there. The king was just like, "Oh, I love this," like not digging into
No
like anything specific going on. And Sir Kristen egged him on, and I think he got what he wanted. He succeeded. What's his face? That I keep forgetting his name. The strong guy.
Harwin.
Harwin.
You don't have to remember his name for too much longer. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't last.
Honestly, he fell into Sir
My
Kristen's
friend.
trap and jumped in, and they were having a fight, an argument about all that shit, and he didn't come out looking too good, and he also ruined Rhaenyra's reputation in a way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the kids found out, I think, probably from that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go
If
ahead,
they
James.
didn't know then they knew after that. Yeah.
I just don't get why Harwin took the bait. Like, I feel like you could see that coming a mile away. He's trying to get a rouse out of you. Like, I don't know.
He kind of started it, though.
Yeah,
He's like, "You're not going to train them equally."
for sure. But also,
Like, don't say shit.
yeah, you gotta play these things carefully, my dude. Like, you're trying to live under the radar, and right now you are way above that radar line. I did think that watching the Hand, what's his name? The Hand,
The strong dad.
Strong Papa.
Daddy Strong.
Yeah,
Daddy Strong.
Daddy
Papa
Strong,
Strong.
watching his son like fuck up IRL, and like just watching it all happen and realize like what this means, I thought was like an extra nice little spicing on the scene of like, well, shit, like there's no doubting it now.
Yeah, I think just that little point with Viserys of him being like hands off, like he could have a decisive king would have called off that scuffle before it even escalated.
I mean, he is missing an arm, so we got to give him a little bit of leeway.
Yeah. So with his decaying sickness or whatever you want to call it, it looked like his whole arm is completely gone. I mean, there's that one scene where he's standing up and it's just nothing there. But yeah, I wonder with the 10-year gap, was this the first time Kristen, was egging him on?
Fair.
I want to say probably not, just
I'd say
because
probably so, because why would he be more angry after like the third kid than
because
from before? Like, you think he's just been getting angrier and angrier over 10 years?
Well, I think so. When Allison and Kristen are talking, they know that those kids aren't Laenor's.
So maybe he's
It-
just fired up because of the new baby.
It was
It's like a
established.
fresh situation.
Yeah, it was established that it's kind of been a rumor already, and this confrontation kind of escalates it to all but true. And Kristen's obviously not over it, and yeah, maybe that third kid kind of finally, pushed it over the edge.
Okay.
But he lost his cool. Probably should not have. He's at stake too, right? Like, if the secret gets out, like, they're all dead, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's just.
I think that's why he was
done.
trying to turn in his badge and gun and dip out. He didn't want to get axed. He wanted to take. Yeah.
The Hand of the King's name is Lionel.
Lionel
Strong.
Lionel Richie Strong. Got it.
Yep.
Next up, we get Rhaenyra sneaking around. She takes that old little secret exit that Daemon had taught her 10 years prior. And the big point I wrote here was that she discovers that the rumors are worse than she feared. Lionel is outright saying it to Harwin, and Harwin's like basically admitting it, but not really. Like, so it's, at least within that family, it's all but known, which obviously puts Lionel in a precarious position. And then next up, we get a small council meeting. We get, kind of another little battle, so to speak, between Rhaenyra and Alicent. One thing I wrote down was Lord Beesbury is old, bruh. They were like talking about like 2 like points of contention ahead, and he's like, "Oh yeah, like we should do this." And I don't know that there's that one guy in the council. I don't know his name, but he was like, "We already talked about that, bro." Like, again, the terms for life, man, with these people in these positions, like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Like U.S. presidents.
Yeah.
Old.
Rhaenyra, so Rhaenyra is like, "Hey, we should do this as stepstones." Alicent's like, "No, we should do this." And they're almost like at odds just for the sake of it. Again, Rhaenyra tries, ice things over, but she's almost kind of trapped at this point because the rumor is just festering of, "Hey, let's have an alliance." My oldest son, who's in line to be the next ruler, can marry your oldest daughter, or I guess her only daughter, and we'll unite our houses to end this, family infighting. And Alicent is just steaming because she knows that those kids aren't legitimate. And she's like, "Yeah, we'll hit you back. We'll talk about it later."
She also knows she's close right now, though. That like things are starting to stir up in a way where she's like, "I'm right there." So it's like the deal or no deal thing, where like she's got the million still on the table of having her son, and then she gets this like, "Do you want to take this deal?" And she's like, "No, that's an insult, dealer, and get this shit out of there. I'm going for the million." I watched a lot of game shows as a child. I'm sorry. Anyways, that's exactly what I was laughing. I was like, "There's that. Of course, that's an insulting deal in Alicent's mind." But as like I was talking to a friend, I'm like, "That's a decent deal. Like that's not bad. That's not."
And a
bad
dragon egg? Come on, bro. I hear those things are worth their
The
weight in gold.
dragon egg.
Yeah,
It felt
bro.
like they were like, "Hey, we'll make it 10 grand." He's like, "Throw on the PS5," and they're just like, "Deal. Let's make this happen. You got it."
Yeah. On paper, that's a fantastic deal because I mean, Viserys is like, "Yeah, let's do it." Like, like.
Well,
it
works very well for Viserys. Viserys gets all the goods. Like he's like, "Cool, we got my house working. We got my wife happy. Hopefully, like, let's just make this all happen." And Alicent was like, "If I, you
over my dead body,
dead.
over my dead body, bitch." Like,
so good, so good.
I know this is common in the times, but the incest in this situation that's Rhaenyra's sister and her son.
yeah,
Just
half
or
sister,
the king's
but yeah.
grandson and daughter.
Yeah.
Like
The Targaryen family trees a straight line. We joke about it all the time.
It's
It's
cringing
a
about
twig.
it.
It's a twig.
It is. Yeah,
son,
that
just
thing is.
marry my
not-
sister.
Yeah, I mean that was offered early from Lionel Strong in episode 3 of just marry the brother and the sister. It'll be cool. It'll be fine. They'll be chilling. But no, it's nasty. Somebody asked me, they're like, "Isn't that the show with all the incest?" I'm like, "Yep. Thank you, Targaryens. That's that right there. Boom."
That's what you've contributed to the world.
Yeah. Next up, or I just want to like note this was like at the meeting, Rhaenyra is like leaking from just having a kid and producing breast
I
milk.
would have been like, so
Oh, we
are you
forgot to
gonna marry
mention.
my son or not?
We forgot to mention her bleeding on her way out of the
Oh
Queen's chambers.
God.
How
Oh, yeah.
fucking
That was
hard
gruesome.
is Rhaenyra though? She is made
Bro,
of
she-
fucking or what is it called? Valyrian steel, dude. Like just walking out of there.
She really wanted to send that message, like no matter what it
Out
cost
here.
her.
She's a working mother, okay?
Yeah. I got time for this boardroom
She does
meeting.
not
Watch
clock out.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the episode, from all we know, she pops the kid out and immediately walks over to her chambers. Like,
Yeah,
dang,
she went
bro,
up like 3 flights of stairs, was just bleeding after birth everywhere.
How do
Also,
we
it's
know
like
she
getting
didn't
her-
take the plan
just
T and
cut
that
the
first
umbilical
kid is
cord.
actually what's his bucket?
Yeah.
oh, Kristen.
Yeah, Kristen. So
Yeah.
Kristen Coles. Sorry.
Yeah, I
flip
mean,
side.
yeah, that kid is like around that age, I would assume. But, yeah, Rhaenyra or Allison's getting her dress tailored or whatever, and like, it's like, oh my gosh.
My crazy sister-in-law's here.
But like, yeah, I just thought the leaking was important because it you know, for better or worse, like, you know, everybody judged her, you know, and silently in that moment, you know, rightfully so or not. But just like a little dock against her in terms of, oh, you know, Aegon's the rightful, you know, next in line versus Rhaenyra. You know, even amongst the small council members. Next up, we get to talk with good old Larys.
Woo!
Piece
Yeah.
of
Larys was
shit.
my favorite character in this
Of
episode.
course,
Let me
he's
tell you.
his favorite because he's the fucking worst. Just
I
like
was
Vegas.
like,
Vegas,
in the
take it
last
away.
episodes, I'm like, this guy's a creep. Because, like, there wasn't much going on with him. He was sitting with those old ladies in the one episode. Then he was being creepy with Alicent in the other episode. And then this episode, I was like, okay, you're the one.
You're the one.
You're the one to stir shit up. Let's go.
Oh, he didn't just stir. Like, for me, I thought he was a pot stirrer. I didn't think that he would be having such action. And damn, did he just set like it almost felt like he's just supposed to just go out and they're like, bro, we just need a yard. Just give us a yard. And he's like, I'm gonna just send a Hail Mary and it's gonna just destroy it, whatever we thought was gonna be good. Oh my gosh, like, and also when we get to that scene of. I don't do slicing. I don't do chopping. That's like
Yeah.
just like Game of Thrones, ladies and gentlemen. That's where you're gonna get that.
What is that for, though? What are
So if
they
they
don't
get
talk.
caught, yeah, if they
So they
get
don't
caught,
talk.
they can't talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those people were accused of something else, weren't they? Like they didn't hear what had happened.
They were told to do something, and if they got caught, they would
Ah,
be forced.
okay, I got
Yeah.
you.
We'll
Well,
chop
what
off
were they?
your balls, or I mean, we'll chop off your fingers or something.
What were they told to go do? That's like what I was asking. Like what?
What they did,
Oh, what they
What they
did,
did.
they killed, they
Oh,
burned
Harwin.
the guy.
yeah, Harwin. Yeah.
I didn't make that connection that those were the same motherfuckers. That's my bad.
Same with the
Yeah.
In that
It's
scene,
not
they-
like
they-
that guy did it himself.
I thought they were gonna come back like next episode having done something outrageous, not realizing they just did something
Oh
outrageous.
my word, that's awesome.
I was also
In- in
eating
that-
pizza during this part, so give me a break.
in that scene, they like look so freaking evil. Like everyone else is like, "What do we?" Do? And it's like these guys in the hoods, and they're like,
Just like walking all serious, like it's obviously those
Well,
motherfuckers.
bro, it's that guy right there.
my thing is like, one, if you ever want to make anyone look shady and anything ever, put a hood on them. Two, like they're like, it's that guy. You go, whoa, and then he like just,
Whoa,
like,
whoa.
you wouldn't be able to say anything. So they were fine. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
all
like
about
Damon in the last episode wore the same kind of hood, like, you know,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's the killing hood.
Yeah.
That's the killing hood.
It is. But yeah, Larys and Alicent are dining. Again, like Larys is just such a smooth talker. He freaking eats without her, like ahead of her, the freaking queen. And Alicent's like, "Sorry, I'm late," and Larys is like, "Yeah, you should be." She's like, "Yeah, I'm." It's like, dang, bro, like he's just got like swagger, bro. Like,
He's almost like one of the girls, because
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he was sitting with all those old ladies in the prior episodes. I think he just got into the position where he could just kind of sit and gab and gossip with the girls, and now he's apparently like, besties with the queen, and
I'm not gonna let this
he's
thing
just
get
like,
cold.
girl, sit down, I already ate.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Have
because
some wine.
from last episode we see that's like the start of their relationship in terms of Laris almost being like a spy master for her and just her, giving like being having him in his good graces with her. So there's been 10 years of this, and it's been kind of hinted at that part of the stirring of the pot, like y'all said, with the rumors about Rhaenyra. I think a lot of them were probably fermented by Laris
Yeah.
and Alison indirectly, just because when they're talking, they're like, yeah, like I haven't heard anything this time, but what about you? Like kind of deal. So interesting to see, that part of the relationship and just Laris's political maneuvering. And then next up, yeah, we get the nasty. Laris immediately goes to the prison, and I was listening to this podcast. I was doing deep dives about it, and it wasn't like a future book spoiler, but I guess like in the past episode, like 10 years before, Laris even back then was known to be like this like torture character, and we see that implemented here where he kind of forces the hand of these prisoners who are
Gonna
sentenced
die anyway.
sentenced to death, gelding, whatever, due to various crimes. And he's like, hey, like, I can get you out if you do this, but you have to cut off your tongue. So
Take me out, by the way. Take me out. You're like, you're gonna get hung, bro. I'm like, it's better
If
than
you're-
one murdering
Nick,
and getting my tongue
Nick.
cut off.
if you're a
I'm just saying.
deviant though,
Bro,
I
I
am
take
going
that
to-
in a
okay.
heartbeat. I don't need to talk, bro. I need to live.
Dude, my tongue is my life, okay? I love speaking so much.
I'm an
that
editor,
most
so
of the
my
time to
fingers are mine.
detriment.
I'm that way. Like, take my
Yeah.
tongue, don't take my fingies.
Yeah. Oh, dude, these things I've never. You can ask Fred when we play Call of Duty. They're useless. So anyways, might as well just take them away. I'm asked like, come on. I need this. This is the moneymaker right here. Not this. This is the thing that's the deterrent. This spins gold. Okay, as we all know. So, but no, I legitimately was like, yeah, you need to give something up. I'm like, oh, probably even castrate him. And then when I saw his tongues, I
they might
literally
have been castrated anyway. Some of them.
true. But I took my
Um,
phone and like allowed me to see like up top to be like, all right, what exactly is happening? But I knew I was like, I can do chopping off balls.
He
all day
censored
long.
it.
Watch
Yeah. He was
Are you
censored.
watching it?
I don't know if it's painful. It looked pretty clean.
Yeah,
Like, it
it's
just was like-
painful.
I'm
It's
sure
clean
it's
because it was a
painful.
It was
hot
like
blade.
butter, though.
it
was
caught
like
her-
butter, though.
It was cauterizing it as it went through. It was a hot
Sure.
knife.
You can get your arm cut off in a swift slice, but you think it's not gonna hurt even if it's clean?
I don't know. I mean, Darth Maul survived in Star Wars,
Oh,
right?
Oh
So,
my
yeah.
god.
Your comments. He probably had pain too.
Anakin did too, but I mean, he was a lot worse for it.
Yeah. But yeah, like, so back with the dining scene, Allison's kind of like, man, I wish this problem would resolve itself. Obviously, we see that wasn't her full intention.
You do?
No.
But Laris,
yeah.
but Laris like catches like the seed of this idea and like
Runs with
goes
it.
0 to 100 real quick because he knows he has her in a position of vulnerability. So he's like, let's murder the son of the Hand of the King. Like, let's go for it.
My brother.
Yeah.
My brother.
My brother, yes.
Let's murder my brother.
His own brother, which eventually puts him to be in position to be heir of Harrenhal.
Yeah, two positives out of this action.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we jump over to Pentos, and Lena is having complications with her birth. Again, I wanted to point out Daemon, and again, this isn't like a high bar, but Daemon's not like Viserys and is like, yeah, like gutter, like let's just try to save this kid. He allows Lena to make the choice.
I thought you heard him whisper no. Like I thought he was
No,
like shaking his
He
head.
whispered, I didn't hear what he whispered, but he made some sort of decision and she snuck out.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think
he went to find her.
I think
I
that
was
she
like,
knew she was
"Why not?"
done, and she said, I'm going out the way I want to go out." Like, no matter what, like, honestly, Damon didn't matter in the situation of what he was going to say, one way or the other. She was like, one, screw this pain. That sucks. I don't want to do that anymore. But two, I want to go out like a badass. And it was badass. But what Damon said, one way or the other, I don't think it's going to really necessarily come up later of like, and be like, I had to kill my
yeah,
wife. No, it was her decision.
no,
It was about her. And
yeah. But I just want to point out, like, again, not a high bar, but he didn't like
He wasn't
say, hey,
immediately all for it.
you know,
Cut him out.
yeah,
He does.
you're right. It's more about her, but he didn't take away her agency, which I thought was a small, dub for him.
And
Not a big
also,
one, but a small
him having two daughters, of course, in this world, like the goal is to have a son, an heir that keeps your blood going. He wasn't like, you could see his contemptness throughout the entire episode, and he was contempt, being like, all right, if this dies, like, it's not the end of the world if the child dies in this situation, because I'm
He
happy
doesn't
I
have
have
the
my family.
ambition.
I
Yeah.
have that ambition. So
Anyway.
there,
Um, yeah, Lena realizes that she's having complications. She's probably going to die from it. We see her dress like soaked in blood. And earlier in the episode, she talks to her daughter about like how she's a dragon rider. She will be one day too. She talks to Damon about like not wanting to live the life of like a fat king or lord or prince or whatever.
She wanted to go out like a badass, and then she did.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a dragon rider, as someone of Valyrian blood, she kind of wanted to go out in battle, and this was her way of doing that. So I thought this was an awesome scene, just in terms of her taking agency in this specific moment. So I know, Nick, you already kind of talked about it, but Chance or Vegas, you guys have anything to add about Lena kind of taking agency over her life at this moment?
I like how the dragon was like, "Are you sure?" Like,
yeah, he was definitely talking to her with his eyes.
Dracarys!
Well, and then she says it again, and he like sees how badly I feel like he like turns and is like looking at her a little bit harder, and he's like, I get you.
They're bonded, so that's like that's like a serious connection between them.
For him to like
Yeah.
immediately not do it, I took it as like, oh, he actually like cares about her. Like, this is her dragon, right? Because she said she got him when she was 15, so I'm assuming that she had him maybe right before or right after the last episode that we watched that was 10 years prior. So she's had him for a good chunk, I would assume. But I just really like that connection, and like Nick said, how she went out like a badass on her terms.
One thing I want to mention is the scene change
Did Brett
really had
freeze?
me.
You
Oh.
just keep going. He came back.
Oh, he's
You-
the
back.
scene change really freaked me out because it went from whatever his name is getting burned that I don't have to say his name anymore, right to her after burning, and then there was like a body on the floor, and I'm like, oh, that's the guy. But then it went to Damon, and I'm like, oh, that was her.
yeah.
It was a really interesting scene change, going from like one burned body to the next burned body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome skeleton, whoever designed that prop. Hats off. I wanted to point out, some more dragon talk. This is Vagar, so the oldest remaining dragon alive in the world, was Queen Visenya's dragon, so Aegon's sister wife. So this one has been there since the beginning, and I also thought the design of the dragon, you could tell it was like an older age dragon. So great job with that.
I like how much
and then
bigger he was than the sea
massive.
serpent too. Yeah. Like watching
y'all-
Damon ride, and like he spans the back of the sea serpent. I know the sea serpent's supposed to be skinnier, but then you see Lena on I forget the dragon's name, and like
Vagar.
she's just like a little like tic tac in the center of this back. Like it's really cool to see the dichotomy of how big they can get.
Yeah. Like you look up I don't know how accurate it is, but people like created like this like graphic of like all the dragon sizes from at their biggest from the history, that because it's like described in Fire and Blood and stuff of like the dragon was this wide and this long, and Vagar is like a shred smaller than Balerion was at his height. So this is one big dragon. Yeah, you saw it flying, and it's just like massive. Like the wings, there's like holes in the wings. Like it's just an awesome design. So it's cool to see that. Any connection to like Aegon the Conqueror and stuff is always really cool. And I mean, these dragons live a long freaking time, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, we then cut to the band of merry men burning Harwin Strong alive. Again, they look super sus, but nobody sees them enter. No one sees them leave, and again, obviously, the castle designs weren't the most accessible. So I guess he just got trapped in his room, got burned alive. Lionel tried to bust in. He's not. He lost his dad's strength, right? It's been a few years since he's had a kid. Lost his dad's strength, and yeah, Harwin Strong gets burned alive. The Lord, or the heir apparent to Harrenhal, the Hand of King's son. So this is like a pretty, big death politically, and like Vega said, orchestrated by his own brother. And then we get this awesome, evil freaking speech by Larys. Where,
I loved it.
It was so freaking evil, dude. And
She was like, I didn't ask for that. And he's like, but now you owe me something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I took it as like her daughter is what he was asking for.
Oh,
Like
No.
that.
oh,
I-
please, no.
I think
Because he pulled the flower. Like that's what it was. Is like when he pulled the flower, that's when I was like, whoa.
but that was the same flower I think that he picked out in last episode when he was like, hey, this flower is, not native here, which was alluding to Alicent, but it's still thriving. And so he picked it again. So I think that was just like a thematic connection. My take was like, yeah, like, hey, you like propose this like problem and like, this issue sucks. And I took that and then ran with it and dealt with it. And now, now you owe me because that problem's gone away and he can't be implicated in it. So he knows he's good there. But yeah, what an evil ass speech. I mean, Nick, where does this rank in the most evil speeches of all time, man, in terms of television history?
I was about to say I've heard Brett have a couple just in our private conversations, but no, in television history, it's up there. Damn, this is ice cold because it's not just pure evil that he's talking about. It's not just this, like, as Vegas said very eloquently, like, yeah, I didn't want this, and he's like, you owe me too, to add insult to injury. But he's coming hot off of murdering his brother. Like this dude is like peak. It is like I don't. You see them in the wedding scene. They're like standing next to each other, and they're like they talk. Like they're not like scorned enough where they freaking hate each other, other than maybe some jealousy and just him being a knight and like not being crippled or anything. But like they're chill enough. And he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna burn him alive to advance myself. Also one of those things of like, it's being burned alive is just like a consensus worst death. Like he couldn't have had one of those guys like slit his throat or something, like to take him out a little bit easier. But no, I'm gonna do this in the most egregiously horrific way. And also, I do want to shout this out. Lionel Strong's acting on the back half there was amazing. But where it ranks in the worst, evilest speeches ever, other than Brett's like nightly rants to me, I'm going number one. If we included Brett's nightly rants, like 7 or 8.
Wow, that's a lot of bad nightly rants. Damn.
No, he's just like, listen, Nick, I will do whatever it takes to further my Twitch game. We need to play more Halo. We need to lock it in.
That sounds
more
pretty
Fortnite.
evil. You need to
If you
chill,
do not,
Brett.
I am going to murder you and
Halo?
your family. And I'm like, okay, that's fair enough. I'll bring it on Call of Duty next time. No, my bad.
You got to get on Tarkov. Get those numbers up, baby.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just
Oh, man.
I'm just teasing.
do want to make this point. I don't know if anybody else made this connection. It thematically, Larys's speech was very similar to Aemon Targaryen's in Game of Thrones, the Maester at Castle Black, when Jon finds out that uh, Ned Stark, his dad, was being held captive in the prisons at the Red Keep. He was about to ditch, or like literally, he was already writ out. Um, and Aemon's like, love is the death of duty. Like it's a big sacrifice, but the role we have is super important. And then Aemon or Larys is kind of like the inverse here, where he's like, love is like a weakness, and it's gonna like screw up like your duties, your ambitions, your goals. So I thought that like connection, that like mirrored kind of connection, was like super dope. I don't know if any of you guys pointed that out, or maybe I'm just totally
I didn't hear you say, but it's so well. Like the speech itself is so well done. To if I like need to like catch somebody up on this show, that speech nailed all the complexities that has been displayed thus far between these multi-level relationships. Most of them tying through Rhaenyra, where it's like, and she's the one who loses out the most on this episode, other than Harwin himself by dying, and maybe Lionel just his son, but like he just lost out on the father of all of her children, and it's miserable, but that's love, and like which is way worse than what you were supposed to do and just have kids with this other dude. And obviously there's complexities in that, but like it catches up Rhaenyra's character so well, and honestly, Alicent is mortified with all of that, of how scary it is, but also it is kind of what she wanted. Like just like Genie ruled, where it's like, this is what I want, but not in that way. So can we like next time minus the like brutal murder part? But no, I love this speech very much. It's freaking brilliantly written, and it's a great way. It's my Game of Thrones play of the game. Like it's my favorite moment from this episode was that final speech, and I can't wait to watch it back. My friends are currently watching the episode at my neighbor's place, and I will be tuning in real quick with them at the very end to catch it one more time tonight before I have to go and study for it. So
nice.
sorry for the rant. Sorry, like
No.
I want to get in there on that speech, baby. It was so good, so good.
Yeah. So, and then the episode pretty much ends there. So, quick question for everybody here. I mean, where do we think the episode is going to go next? I mean, do we think there's gonna be another time jump, or is this going to follow hot on the heels? I mean, what are we anticipating? Chance, I'll start with you.
I'm assuming it's going to be maybe a little bit, maybe like 6 months ahead, just because I do feel like this episode also spanned a little bit of time. Just based off of like the next up on thing that they showed at the end and kind of what the episode is dealing with. I'm expecting to see Rhaenyra and Daemon kind of like get back in touch again, because Rhaenyra is going back to that kingdom, Driftmart, with her,
So, yes.
with Lionel or whatever his name is, and their kids. So I'm assuming that he'll meet up there as well, because that's what his wife wanted. And I do think, as weird as he is and as kind of as cutthroat as he is, I do think he will take the kids back there to satiate his dead wife's wishes. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the dynamic and kind of seeing how it plays. I'm also really interested to see how long it takes for the king to kind of stop supporting Rhaenyra as the heir to the throne now that she's left.
Vegas, or go ahead, Nick.
No, Vegas. I by all means, Vegas, go.
I'm really just curious. I don't really have any predictions, but I know Alicent and Rhaenyra are they're going to be kind of done. I don't see them rekindling their relationship anytime soon, at least. And I really just want to see what Larys has next. I want to know what he wants. I want to know what he's gonna do. He's the type of character that makes the show super interesting. So we'll see what happens there. And also, with them leaving, Obviously her boo is dead. So is she gonna find a new one? Is she gonna try and have kids with Rhaenyra?
It's gonna be Daemon. That's my guess.
Oh,
Mm.
now that you bring that up, that's a total possibility. Are they gonna try and get their kids together too?
Possibly,
or
but
are they going to grow close if they're gonna be around
I think they're gonna
each other?
I think they're gonna grow closer to each other, for sure.
Because what would perfectly just make everything just more complicated and interesting is if she has kids actually with Laenor, which would make them legitimate, or she has kids with Daemon, which would be pure Targaryen and definitely be like a legitimate, potential. I mean, obviously they're not married, but I mean that would be pure Targaryen blood.
They'd at least have the hair.
I think with Daemon around, Lorien, what's his name? Is that his name?
Laenor.
I don't think Laenor's long for this world with Daemon around.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's a threat in any way.
I want Hightower action, but mainly coming from
Oh, yeah?
Otto.
Hightower's
I
gonna
want
come back.
Otto to come back and start stirring some shit up. And most importantly, I think that this episode, with all of its complexities, was a Hightower W. Like it's worked well for them. They took a big piece off the board, and then also these rumors are stirring up more randomly than ever. So I would be shocked. I think Chance nailed it. Of a Targaryen W, I think is about to happen, and I think it very well could come from a Rhaenyra and Daemon marriage, or a just those two linking up in general and making their next move together. I think very well could happen. Also, Viserys just die. Like just like it's gonna happen eventually.
He was looking rough, dude.
Oh, dude,
rough.
the hair.
Poor guy.
Oh, yikes! But yeah, no, it's come on, bro. Just I like you're a fun character, and I think that like there was the moment of him looking over the children was very adorable. Just like he's an old man who doesn't give a crap anymore. He knows that he's not long for this world. So just get out of the way so we can let the other pieces play a little bit more.
But the thing is they're probably holding on to him because he's actually like the key piece to peace now.
I would agree.
The second he's gone, everything goes to shit.
Yep.
So
Which that's for
of course
me,
we want that.
my prediction is that's an episode 9 move is when we lose Viserys at this point. I think that's a Game of Thrones episode 9 type of move.
How much of him is going to be
Shit
left?
hits the
at that point?
He's gonna be missing a
He's
gonna
be
be
like that.
half shoulder.
chicken
He's gonna
nugget.
he's gonna be that SpongeBob skeleton that's like, where's the chocolate?
Surprised he lasted this long. Can we throw that out there?
Yeah.
He looked pretty rough in the last
He
episode.
he
And
looked
it's
thin,
10 years
too.
later. I
He
was
looked
like,
thin. He
Yeah.
looked really
whoa,
thin too. Like,
dude's still alive.
Hopefully that one Maester or Orwin or whatever that offered the poultice. I think he's been taking the poultices, and those have been working much better than the leeches or the maggots. So.
Yeah, he's been sneaking
Hats
it to him
off.
on the sly.
Yeah. So hats off to because he had that little vial. Also random
Dude,
Laris
drink
had that
this.
like bee sigil or whatever. Or some
Yeah, it was
beetle or something.
It was a bee.
Yeah. Which looked cool, but I mean he's evil, so now I'm afraid of that.
Don't get stung.
But yeah, that's all that we have for y'all today. Thank you guys for listening to this fantastic episode of a fantastic show, of a fantastic podcast. Next week, we got episode 7, Driftmark. So we'll probably be seeing more Rhaenyra and more Valerians. But yeah, we appreciate you guys listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Toodaloo.